Hey everyone, Joe here, and today I'm going to be talking about a project that I want to try out sometime. It's going to be a Gacha Life series. I wrote it so it's like a movie, but because it's long like a movie, it's going to be more like a series type thing. Well, maybe I could do a movie actually, because I have the technology for that. I don't know, we'll see. I might make it into a single movie, like a single hour and a half long movie, I don't know. But anyways, this thing that I want to make is called A Night in the Daycare. I'm not quite sure if that's the final title or a placeholder name, but right now it feels like the final title, A Night in the Daycare. So, my inspiration for this thing, or this idea, came from something that happened to me when I was like 6 years old, I think. So basically, both my mom and dad had to work that night. They do nighttime karaoke gig type stuff. And they knew these friends who had some kids, and they stayed over at the house I was at for the night. So it was basically a whole family watching over me type of thing. Like, there were two parents who were friends of my parents who came to watch me, and they brought their 3 kids, I think, who were about the same age as me or a little bit younger than me. I think one of them was a little bit older than me, but there was one younger brother who was like 5. But we all go to this Planet Fitness, and it's the Planet Fitness in my town, but they remodeled it since this, so it looks completely different from what it used to. It may have been some other gym company before Planet Fitness. I don't know. All I know is it took place in a gym that I know still exists, though significantly remodeled and now in 2026. But yeah, we went to this gym, and while the adults were using the exercise machines and all that, they had us, I think it was 3 or 4 of us, the kids, go into this little daycare room, I guess. And it was turning nighttime and all that, so yeah. They had play structures and foam stuff and all that. It's like the kind of place where you put your kid when you're stepping away for a few hours to do some stuff in the gym or whatever. A bunch of little kid climbing stuff and those foam seesaw type things. And I remember I got this feeling after a while I was there. I don't remember the entire time while I was there. Sorry, that's a Discord message. Oh yeah, also on the side note, I wanted to make my, my black screen, just audio only, talk videos, a little bit more, slightly more interesting to watch, I guess, or listen to. So what I'm starting to do now is I'm gonna actually put, an image or two of, the stuff I'm talking about on here for you to see. And, maybe some stuff it's inspired by, or the vibe of it, or even maybe some background music. So, anyways, I got this, feeling, while I was in that daycare. I don't remember much about, what I did in the daycare exactly. Well, it might as well be a night care, because it was basically nighttime the whole time we were there, or turning night. The only real point I remember being in that daycare room was, sitting in the corner of the room, and feeling very upset, and then I missed my parents kind of thing, it felt unfamiliar, kind of. Something's felt out of place or whatever. It gave me this anticipating, almost crying feeling in my throat. It's the kind of feeling where where you're in a room of people, in a room full of, it wasn't a room full of people, there was only, a few kids there, maybe a couple other ones I didn't, know, or were strangers to me, and maybe, a few, adult workers, behind the counter or something like that, the check-in counter type of thing, but, I got the feeling that no one cared about my existence type of thing, and they were all just having fun, not acknowledging the fact that I was, upset that, I was in a place that I didn't that I didn't want to be in on my own. Like, with my parents, yeah, sure, that'll be cool, but I rarely ever, had to be somewhere without my parents other than school, you know? And even at school, there was always, like, some adult by my side, but in this case, it was just very lonely, I guess. But, like, it was very fresh and new to me of the concept of being lonely, you know what I mean? It gave me this direct, like, almost want to cry feeling. Maybe I did cry. I don't remember. But this was all in the perspective of me when I was, like, 5 or 6 years old. And that's the kind of feeling I wanted to, give for, this project. And I thought of this project, like, after I remembered, this memory, and I was like, you know what? This would make a great story or series or a movie or something like that. So then I thought about how it shouldn't be made or whatever, and that's when I came up with the character Twiddle, who I made up, like, at the end of last year. And I think I do consider her as my gacha life Sona. Because when I was drawing her, I was trying to draw a character that felt like they used to have a lot, like, nothing but just pure innocence in their life, and then, like, something happened where where life kind of just collided with that a lot, and it changed her until it transformed her into someone who sees the world in a more negative but realistic outlook than, like, a purely positive view, if that makes sense. Someone who, like, transformed into, like, I guess a semi-adulthood mind, like, way younger than they should have, if that makes sense. Or maybe a lot of things from their childhood wasn't complete, or maybe a lot of their, like, goals they're hoping to achieve, like, just become, like, not possible anymore. Well, still possible, but not as easy to get. Basically, someone who's been damaged, but not completely gone, you know? The way I, created Twiddle was a little bit different than, like, the experience I had when I was, like, 5 years old. That's a little bit of a different feeling. With Twiddle, that's more of, like, a mirroring to, like, how I feel in modern life, if that makes sense. Like, compared to my childhood to now. So that's how I created Twiddle, the character. But the actual feeling of what I felt when I was, like, 6 years old in that, like, daycare room was, like, it's like the whole premise of the story itself, not just about one character. On some level, all the characters, or the kids, who are in this story, who get trapped in the daycare, we'll get to that in a second, feel that same emotion that I felt in some way, in their own ways. They feel that feeling. Like they've been abandoned, or like they're trapped, or like they can't get out, and it's all a new experience to them. It's something they never really had to deal with before. Like, they're stuck in a place that's, like, they know is trying to make them feel better or feel nothing but happiness, but it's not working because they just want their parents back, you know? So, yeah, I started coming up with the idea of, like, there's, like, these, like, 5, maybe 6 kids who are trapped in, I know this sounds like Digital Circus, but, I mean, I guess I got some inspiration from Digital Circus, like, afterwards, but, like, initially, like, it was just, like, my original feeling of thought of this. Like, I didn't directly take any inspiration from Digital Circus to make this, but, like, everything just, like, so happens to line up basically one-to-one with Digital Circus in almost every way, you know what I mean? Minus the fact that these are real children, and they're not, like, stuck in a VR world. No, this is, like, a real, like, place they're trapped in overnight. But yeah, let me talk about that. So, here's the plot. In this, like, gym facility place, Their parents drop these kids off at varying ages off of this daycare, and then they leave them there to do their own stuff, right? But then the kids start noticing it gets dark out, and then they look outside like the daycare's door window, and they see a flyer like on one of the windows, and it says that the time that the place closes in today, it closed like over an hour ago when they checked it. So it's like 11 a.m. when not 11 p.m. when it closes, and it was like 12 a.m. when they looked and fact checked that. So then that's when they realize that, oh my god, they're trapped there. What are we gonna do? Some are just frantically panicking, thinking there's no hope left. Some are doing the same thing I did, just cry in the corner or whatever. And some just ignored it and played games and have fun and just be a dick to everyone. Some think about it hard, some ignore it. So yeah, they all have their own, like, ways of dealing with the stress of, like, learning that the place is closed and they're locked in for the night. And I think all those kids, too, were, like, also, like, anticipating, like, waiting, like, hoping their parents will show up before the place closes. But then, when they figure out the place was closed, some still hold out hope, and others kind of ditch that hope and kind of just, like, pretend to have fun and everything's alright when really everything's not. And then from there, they have to interact with each other and figure themselves out, and figure out how they are going to manage this together in one, like, space. So that's basically the whole idea of it. I'm not gonna talk about anything that happens afterwards, because those are kind of like, I don't know, spoilery, I guess, and, you know. Well, there was actually, like, one scene that I added in this that is, like, a direct parallel to a very important scene in Digital Circus, but it still works, like, perfectly on its own, like, even if Digital Circus didn't exist, you know? Like, it's not just, like a gag or anything, it's, like, a actual, like, thematic, like, climax to something. But yeah, that is, basically A Night in the Daycare for you. Did I say everything I want to? Probably not. Maybe there's a lot of info I left out, but hey, I mean, you at least got a tiny bit of a taste of what it's gonna be about. When should you expect it? I'm not too sure, because the way I'm gonna make it is like how I make all my longer length movies that go over an hour long. Basically I make like, different, like 20-ish minute long parts to a movie, and I upload them privately on YouTube as their own separate videos, and then I re-download those videos and stitch them together to then make it into one public movie to post on YouTube, if that makes sense. That's how I make movies. That's how I seamlessly do it. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about each of the characters that I've written so far. I've written most of the characters. I think I might add one, maybe two more characters. I'm not sure, maybe at least one more, but we'll see. Oh yeah, but before about that, there's this funny thing that happened that night. After so like after I was done crying in the corner or whatever, ultimately the parents of those kids who were with me in the daycare did come back, of course, like half an hour later, and then they grabbed us and then we left. Then we went back to my house where it was just me, the 3 kids, and the 2 adults who my parents trusted. And then we had a sleepover kind of thing in my room where we put the movie Robots on. The Blue Sky movie Robots. You know, it's like Rodney Bigbottom. Oh, hey, I'm Rodney Bigbottom. And, I believe me and the 3 other kids somehow managed to fit on the same bed. Well, it was a queen-size bed, so I guess it makes sense. I was, like, laying the way I would usually lay, and then the other kids were kind of like, just under my legs and my feet, like, across the bottom half, like sardines, you know? And the 2 parents were actually, sleeping over with us in the same room, too. They were, okay, so, this is the room. This is my original bedroom before I moved out into the cabin, and then ultimately came back in due to winter issues, and then I decided, hey, I want to stay in here. In like 2025, I moved back in my old room that Blake used to have, but Yeah, so my old my old bed, which is now the cabin, the headboard was like there, and it would like come out here and then here. The kids were like laying at like sardines like this, I think, and then I was like laying my normal position, and the parents were crammed down here in their sleeping bags just down here. And this was back when I had like an old TV like up here on this cart thing. That's what this is for. This is like an old like 2000s boxy TV holder thing. If you looked at my older YouTube channels, like Joey Gamer Guy and like More Amazing World Joey, The Amazing World Joey, you might see that in a few videos like up there, and you might see my old room set up. But yeah, that's basically what like Robots was playing up there, and the parents were laying down there. There was a bed here. I was laying like that, headboard there, sides, the bottom, and the kids were laying like sardines like that. And mom came in. She walked in the room, and then she basically like kissed me awake, and I was like, "Hey, mom, you're home." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm home." And then she didn't know the parents were down here, so after she leaned back up from kissing my forehead or something, she tripped on one of the parents and fell down on top of them. Mom, if you were watching this, do you remember that? Do you remember that night? And it kind of just woke everyone up, and it was awesome and crazy, and everything was good. So yeah, but yeah, let's talk about each of the characters. Twiddle, I already talked about. She's basically a little bit more of a dramatic version of me, I guess. But yeah, you basically get the gist of why Twiddle was created. But now let's talk about her in the actual thing. Twiddle in A Night at the Daycare, no, A Night in the Daycare is 12 years old, the maximum age that this daycare in this like story allows. She's in the background and keeps away from the chaos and playtime. But when the right time comes, she acts as the private one-on-one who tells kids the harsh truths about what the downsides of being a kid means. She mostly only thinks negatively, but realistically, though at the same time she wants to feel and be free, even when she doesn't admit it. She wishes she didn't have to stay within her toxic persona, and she knows that she's sort of forcing it, that toxic persona, for times, or going too far with it. She only has a very slight hint that all she's really doing is hurting herself with this mindset. If there is anything she would be participating in, she would act in a mean but honest way to the other kids. Can seem harsh, but at least she's not like the kind of people she considers bad. Even if she seems toxic on the outside, she does care about the kids and means well for them. She questions a lot if what she says is really even the right way to give the kids confidence. The real thing she wants is just the other kids to feel safe and that their parents will come back for them. But she starts to feel some doubt. What if they do just abandon them there and never show up when the place reopens? She was also like very like based on like a way of thinking I had like 6 months ago, I think. I used to stay on like I live with my dad, and he has this like think realistically even if it seems harmful in a way or negative. So I used to like be like make myself be on the track of thinking he's on, but like recently I realized that's not really how I want to feel, and that's not like the best way I feel like I should feel. So since then I've been starting to try to wake myself back up to like how I used to think of the world when I was a little kid, you know what I mean? Because now I'm starting to believe that like I think I should, like for me personally, I think I should value like happiness and the quality of my life over like the realistic probability of negative things later in life. Hope greater than standardized realism. Alright, next character, Madeline, aka Maddie, age 9. She's a kid who is very hopeful about their situation, though is initially the most scared one. She develops hope and trust and confidence as the story goes on, and peaks right before and during when a certain climatic spoiler happens for this movie. I know I'm making it seem like this like really huge spoiler or whatever because I'm like repeating it a bunch of times, but it's the kind of like way it's executed already exists in Digital Circus, so like it's not that much of a spoiler. I'm just saying like it's just simply something I don't want to like reveal in anything that's not the actual content itself, you know? Well, the execution is like, and how it's done is basically exactly the same to a certain Digital Circus scene, but the meaning of it is not the meaning of how it's used in the Digital Circus episode. It has a different meaning than what it meant in Digital Circus, even though the execution is basically exactly the same, if that makes sense. Alright. Now, we got the third character, Holden. This is the little dipshit kid character. This is the kind of little kid who, like, runs around, screams, and, like, invades others' privacy and stuff like that at, like, 5 years old, you know what I mean? One of those kids who just, like, unnecessarily screams a lot or whatever. And just, like, overly hyper, you know? Holden, age 8. He's very, I can do this better than you-ish. He can be a little brat who bothers other kids. Basically like a very young Jax, but without the trauma. He's trying to have fun and is just being crazy because he thinks it's fun. Simple as that. He's just one of those more unhinged kind of kids. He is the one kid who Twiddle gets so fed up with that something peak happens here, which I won't name. Zoe, age 7. She likes to read books and play with the other kids. There's a 50-50 chance she's contently by herself or with everyone else. She is the most bothered by everything. She's like Maddie in the very earlier parts of the night, but it's constant and quieter. The vibe is like real play places and daycares I've been to, and that feeling you get when you feel alone in one of those without your parents around for the first time, other than going to school. With some The Amazing Digital Circus and Yoom Nikki, Yoom Tuki in there too. A lot of kidcore and early 2010s childhood vibes thrown in there too as well. But it's like based on like just like real life kind of like kidcore stuff, not like fantasy stuff like the Backrooms and stuff like that. The Backrooms isn't gonna be in this. Like, it can feel Backroomsy, but it's not the Backrooms. And that is all the known characters so far. I'm definitely gonna write at least one more character to put in here, but I don't want to write too many characters where it's gonna be like, where it's just gonna like not really like add anything to the story, if that makes sense. But also like I don't want to add many characters to like where it's gonna like shift the focus away from all the characters, because I want all the characters to have the spotlight at times. There's no like one main character. Though, of course, because of like how like general like plot structure works, like halfway through and by the end of this, it'll feel like a couple kids are more in the center than other kids. But truly, it's about all the kids collectively like trapped in a place, and they have to wait it out till the end. And I'm looking through the Word doc right now, and other than what I just read, beneath that is the ongoing plotline script, where every paragraph represents a scene. And it's a work in progress, but I got the general idea there. I know how it begins, and I know how it ends. I know how a story ends for once before the beginning. That's actually kind of rare for me to do. I actually fully know how something ends. Like, before actually writing it or doing production work or anything like that, I actually know how it ends, which is kind of cool for once. That rarely ever happens on Red Blue Films. But I'm still working on the meat, like what happens in the middle. I basically got like most of the beginning of Act 1 in there, and pretty much all of Act 3 in there, but I don't know about the middle parts yet. There's some room to play around with that. So, yeah, this is A Night in the Daycare. And, yeah, thank you for listening to this or watching this, whatever you're doing. And, yeah, I don't know when, like, I'm gonna start making this. Uh, Hopefully, like, late this year, early next year, I'll start, like, slowly working at it. Uh, but at the same time, I've only, like, made 2 privated videos, for parts of the Block Force movie, and that's nowhere to be seen yet, so I promise I'm still working on it. It's just, like, I don't feel like working on it right now kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I only made, like, 2 parts to it so far, out of, like, 10, so, yeah. Well, yeah, that is A Night in the Daycare for you, what I got so far. I hope you guys like it, so, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.